Hi. Sorry, but do you mind if I sit next to you? Thank you. Sorry, I know people really like sitting alone, but this place, sadly, only has one place to charge anything, as I'm sure you've noticed. Well, don't worry. I won't be too noisy or anything. I come here to get work done, not bother anyone. Freelance writer, which is to say, unemployed. All kinds of things. I've written short stories and had them published, articles on various topics. I've done some copywriting, some stuff for social media. That's what happens when you aren't employed. You take whatever jobs you can get, regardless of how weird they are. There are a lot of times when you need to put food on the table, and the only thing available that pays well is a job to write about the latest controversy in sports, or why a celebrity wearing a specific brand or designer is a statement about their acts. I have. It was several years ago, though, so it's old news. No, thankfully, I'm in a spot where I don't need to do anything like that anymore. My short stories and books make more than enough money for me to live off them comfortably, so I don't see myself doing anything like that for a long time. Unless I just want to. I don't know. Do I want to tell you what my book is called? Well, what happens if I tell you the name and it's something you don't like? You might. I don't know what your taste in books are. As far as I know, you could exclusively read high fantasy epics and think everything else is trash. Yeah, that does mean it's not a high fantasy epic, although I would love to write something like that one day. I would. I'm a big fan of history, and I like traveling to historical sites to take photos. It's how I get inspiration for short stories. When I'm there, I try to imagine what it would be like to be there before all of this existed, before everything became developed. Jumping on a horse and riding it through the world, camping when it gets dark, then waking up just to do it again. Sorry, I spend all day locked up in a dimly lit room, so I don't really get to talk about this stuff very often. It's the life of a creative. As much as I like coming here to work, I don't really do any actual writing. Instead, this is where I answer emails, respond to clients, promote my writing, things like that. Being completely isolated is the only way I can actually get anything done. Well, it comes with the downside of needing to live alone and not socializing very often. It can get a little lonely sometimes. Yeah, that's not something that gets to me. Not anymore, at least. Actually, it got to me more when I was trying to socialize and work. Balancing the two was impossible, and taking myself out of social situations felt more isolating than actually being isolated. Well, not always. During my college years, I was very social, to the point it would actually be rare for me to be home. Well, what happened is I grew up. I loved socializing, partying, hanging out with friends, and doing whatever we could think of. But you can't do that forever. Not even for very long after you leave school. When you move out, settle in some cramped, dingy apartment, it sobers you up. You realize the fun part is over, and it's time to be serious. You're right, some don't. May even be the majority, who knows? But that's how it was in my case, at least. Now I am a very responsible adult. Most of the time. While when you're living alone and all you do is work, your standards can be a little low sometimes. What I mean is that last week I survived entirely off coffee and instant noodles because I forgot to restock my fridge. And as much as I'd like to say that that's uncommon, it isn't. When I'm getting work done, I want as little distraction as possible. And sometimes that means not doing anything else that takes time, like cooking. There's some people that can figure stuff out while doing other things, but I am not one of them. I need complete and total silence. It's pretty hard to do that in the city, I won't lie. There's always some sort of noise. But that's why I built kind of a specialty room in my apartment that's very isolated from everything. Yeah, it works well. You know, if you're interested, I would be happy to show you. It's not far. It's actually right around the corner. The only reason I come here is because it's so close to where I live. Think about it. The offer won't just go away if you say no now. Oh, that's true. I guess it would be a little weird to go to someone's place when you don't even know their name. I'm Steven. It's nice to meet you. You have a very pretty name. You're welcome. So, now that we know each other's name, what do you say to that offer? Good. Get your things and we'll go. When I said it's right around the corner, I wasn't kidding. It's actually this building, right here. Yeah, it's convenient having a place to get some work done this close. I'm guessing it's safe to assume that you had to go way out of your way to get here, huh? Are there really no cafes like that around where you are? I'm surprised. Well, whenever I'm out, I see a bunch of places like that one. Do you live outside the city or something? Ah, that makes more sense. So you live in the surrounding area and just come into the city for work then? Well, I'm sure that's a lot cheaper than living here. And you get more space. I've thought about it, but relocating would be far too much effort and cause too much downtime for me. This building is pretty expensive for what it is, but since I can afford it and it works for me, trying to go anywhere else would be more work than it's worth. Plus, since I've built my nice little quiet space here, I'd have to figure out how to do that wherever I go. And that is also a tremendous undertaking, as you will soon find out. Here we are. You'll have to ignore the mess. I wasn't exactly expecting to bring anyone over here today, so I didn't clean up. And I wasn't really going to clean up for a while. Hopefully it's not too bad. I'm glad it's not too bad. To be honest, I was a little worried on our way over here that you would immediately run out when you saw how disorganized everything is. Well, I find comfort in the chaos. At first glance, it seems a little unorganized, but I know exactly where everything is. Besides, I feel like having things organized would stress me out more than the disorganization. Instead of wondering where something is or seeing a mess, I would be worried about making sure things are in the right place. And if they aren't, that would end up bothering me more if it didn't have a place to begin with. Personally, this is close to my philosophy to life in general. The stressed out people I know are the ones that have very strict schedules and routines. When those routines are thrown off, their entire day collapses. Maybe I am unique in thinking that way. But I think everyone needs to try adding a bit of chaos to their lives. See what it's like when things stop being so organized. Well, I could start by doing things like this. throwing some unknown into their lives. Me with you and you with me. I'd say you are. Yeah. You're the first person that isn't declined to come into my apartment in a very, very long time. So, why don't we check out the workroom that you're so curious about? Come this way then. Step inside, and you will see why I built this immediately. Do you hear that? Nothing. Your ears are making more noise than the space itself. It's not for everyone, that's for sure. Yep, that is where I write, over on that desk. Sometimes I use paper. Most of the time, though, it's too much work and far too slow to do that. Writing in general is much slower than typing, especially if you want to be able to read it afterwards. But the slowest part is needing to type it. Rereading what you wrote, trying to make sense of it, and then typing it anyway takes up more time than if you just deal with the minor distractions of using a computer first. It is pretty amazing, isn't it? When you're in here, it's almost like you've stepped into a place that isn't in our regular world, somewhere outside of time and space. Yeah, it makes it somewhat eerie in a way, but I don't know. I really like it. Yeah, I get the feeling you aren't alone in thinking you'd go crazy here. Sometimes when clients need to pick something up, I bring them in here to see their reaction. Most of them think it's really weird and unsettling. But I like it. Yeah, that's some of the stuff I've been working on. You can read it, but don't judge it too hard. It's still a very early draft. That's a romance that I've been writing. It's part of a series that's been ongoing for a few years now. Well, it's about a woman. She's in her mid-30s. She went through a very rough divorce, and she went through this period of blaming herself for it, even though she and everyone around her knows it wasn't her fault, that her ex-husband wasn't good for her. She then spends the rest of her 30s sort of reconnecting with who she really is, the woman that she lost sight of over the years. That's probably not what you thought I would write, is it? I get that reaction a lot. Nothing in particular inspired it. I don't really get out a lot, but I spend a lot of time on the internet. It's mostly garbage, but there's also quite a lot of people who ask very vulnerable questions because it's the only place they can go where they can say these things without anyone judging them. In this case, there was an article I read once that was linked on Reddit about this woman who had this kind of journey. The comments were of people saying they also went on or were planning to go on something similar. For this book, I reached out to some of them for input, and, well, that became the basis of the story. Yeah, there's some spice to it. I wasn't really something that I planned for it originally, but as I was talking to these women about their own lives and about the book, what they wanted to see, yeah, that's something that came up several times. I don't know if I can tell you the title. To be honest, I'm a little embarrassed. Well, other than publishers, no one else knows who wrote these books. I've never done anything public with them, and all the advertising was done by a friend. Yeah, it was promoted pretty heavily on social media. If you're in that space, you might have heard about it. No, I'm not ashamed. I'm actually really proud of the stuff that I write. It's just embarrassing. I've always kept my public and private life very separated. This is the first time I've shown anyone that doesn't need to know. I don't know. I don't think there's a reason why I didn't mind you seeing. Could be trust. But I also know it's a very real possibility that you could take this information and do whatever you wanted with it. I don't think you would. You just don't seem like the type to do that. I'm a quick judge of character. Well, I'd say I'm accurate 90% of the time. Well, why don't you tell me how accurate I am about you? Are you the type to run around violating people's privacy for fun? I didn't think so. I'm curious about what? Curious about the spicy side of the story, huh? And what are you curious about? Well, how spicy it is depends on your tolerance, doesn't it? What's spicy to one person could be very mild to another. Oh, with my tolerance, I'd say it's a 5 out of 10. It wasn't the main focus of the story, and I didn't want it to be. That being said, though, I did have quite a few people disappointed in the lack of spice in it. So maybe in the next book, I'll have to put some more in. You really want to know what's in it? You promise you won't judge me too hard for it. Okay. So, this is tough. Well, I'm just trying to figure out how to explain this that makes sense without also sounding weird. Okay, the most extreme thing that's in there is this one part where she hooks up with this 25-year-old in a bar parking lot. It's pretty early in the first book, soon after the initial divorce. She goes out to kind of cut loose and ends up seeing this guy out there that really wants her. And, yeah, they go out to the car. Like I said, it's a 5 out of 10. It's pretty mild. In fact, the first one is probably closer to a 3 out of 10. Well, I don't want to do anything too crazy for the sake of realism. The stuff that's in there is likely to happen. Some of it is, admittedly, uninteresting. Just kind of happens and there's nothing special about it. Well, I think that's more realistic than, say, meeting someone and after 20 to 30 minutes of talking, having the best time of your life. Hookups are real, but they're very rarely good, let alone life-changing. It's something you do to get the job done, so to speak. You look back on it with indifference. Maybe mine have just been bad, yeah. But I don't think that's a very uncommon thing to happen. Most, if not all, of the people I talk to have very similar situations. There's like a scale of good that they have, and they very rarely fall on the good side, and instead either hover around the center or fall into the bad side. And maybe you're just better at it than most if you would score yours high. You know, maybe you should be my new source of inspiration. Well, you clearly have experience, and you've got confidence in yourself. There might be something there to spark some inspiration. Well, I've got time to listen if you've got time to tell. All right, then. Let's hear it.